All right, we are live. Good to see you today, my EOS Podcast friends. Today we have Rudy from Mythical Games, one of these big newly funded projects on EOS that everyone's really excited about. So we're gonna ask a ton of questions about blockchain gaming, what Rudy and the team are up to. So Rudy, welcome to the show, and go ahead and introduce yourself.
Here, my name is Rudy Cox. I'm co-founder and head of blockchain for Mythical Games. As you mentioned, we're a newly funded startup planning to release some big games on the EOS blockchain. Personally speaking, I've been in game development for about 10 years. Started my career actually in 2008, coincidentally, which is when the App Store came out. That was another profound moment in games. And I joined a team called Penguin at Disney, built their first mobile team, launched their first mobile game, which hit #1 in 25 countries. From there, I went to Activision and worked on Call of Duty for 6 years, as well as Skylanders game. And then most recently, before Mythical, I was working at Blizzard on World of Warcraft team, which was a real treat for me, you know, growing up, having played Blizzard games, being a big fan of Blizzard. You know, it's a real honor to be able to be a part of that. And then, yeah, most recently, actually, it feels like forever, but really, it was only February I started to really dig into blockchain and its relevance to games, and you know, that's where the idea for Mythical Games started.
Yeah, Call of Duty is huge. World of Warcraft is huge. Those are such kind of iconic games.
Mm-hmm.
And you can see I used to play Halo a bunch. I've got Master Chief sitting on my shelf back here, so I'm a fan of Call of Duty first-person shooters. I know that those two were like, you know, arch nemesis games back in the day. But yeah, how cool. Chain, as far as you came from the gaming, and what's your blockchain journey look like?
You know what? I mean, I feel like I'm just sort of drawn to new and exciting things, and I think, you know, people in games in general get excited when there's a potential for a tool that comes in that challenges the way we've been doing things, and maybe provides us with a way to do something completely unique and something completely different. And like I said, everybody on the Mythical team has been in games for a while, and we've seen the evolution and the incredible innovation that's happened. And you know, over the years, in particular, I already mentioned mobile, you know, had a profound impact over the last 10 years, and we all saw that. So, you know, when we found blockchain, we were instantly drawn to it. I was certainly instantly drawn to it. And the more, you know, I'll admit, when I first ran into it, it was a bit of a mind bender to try and wrap my head around it all. But, you know, as we started to dig into it, it became, it was really clear, it was really exciting. And it was also became pretty clear pretty fast that it was an important thing to pay attention to. In particular, you know, I'll mention CryptoKitties, who, you know, everybody knows as a team that kind of innovated in this space and sort of showed this concept of true ownership of digital assets was possible. And, you know, we got really excited about that one in particular. And there's a lot of paradigms. There's a lot of paradigms that people are exploring in blockchain and games. There's a lot of interesting stuff. There's a lot of things that I think we still have yet to uncover, but the thing that really captured us was this idea of true ownership of digital assets. I mean, I think that's such a powerful concept. You know, games forever, and, you know, you've been able to collect items, you know, World of Warcraft, EVE Online, you know, even going back to Asheron's Call back in the day. I had family members who played that game and, you know, collected items, and then even went on eBay and sold those items for money. You know, so when we sort of came across this idea of like true ownership of digital assets, we thought, wow, this is really powerful, and it feels like it's a really good, natural next step for what the gaming industry kind of already does. And so, yeah, we were really attracted to that. The other thing that was really interesting too was I got to meet some people who were playing blockchain games and making money. And that to me was really mind-blowing. I even met a couple of people who quit their jobs and were playing, you know, full time, and buying and selling and trading items. And, you know, that was at the core of what sparked the idea for Mythical and what we got really excited about when it comes to blockchain.
Yeah, you know, I have a couple friends who were just full-time like blockchain, EOS, ETH, blockchain basically just playing the games and finding ways to make money, like Pixel EOS, and like I think it was called like King of EOS, and the crypto kitties, of course. They were like, he was breeding crypto kitties and then, you know, putting out new ones. And I mean, that's what he's been doing, is basically being new adopter to all these games and then kind of reaping the rewards.
That's right.
Yeah, there's kind of a there's a line to be drawn here, though. I mean, this is a good segue into the difference between blockchain games and gaming games that integrate the blockchain. And if you look at these blockchain games, they're fairly one-dimensional. You know, there's not a lot to them because of where we are, but there's this evolution that we're kind of hoping to see, where we have high-quality games that integrate the blockchain. So it's more of like an add-on or some sort of integration or evolution, as opposed to, you know, we're building like another CryptoKitties that's just thought about as blockchain. How do you see that difference?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I see that exact thing. I mean, you know, what we believe at Mythical is, you know, we don't believe there's a future where, at least not in any time soon, where there are blockchain games, but rather we believe in as you said it, games that leverage blockchain. We think that is really the future. You know, what we saw in the market was a lot of experimental ideas, you know, trying to leverage blockchain in a lot of different ways. And I think that's really healthy and really important for the market, because it really pushes the boundary of what you can do with blockchain. But, you know, coming at it, you know, we come at it from years and years of making games for mass market. And so, you know, I think we have to first go, what's the game we want to put out there? And then we have to look at blockchain and go, well, what can blockchain add to that? I think we have to be careful not to just throw blockchain in for the sake of it being blockchain. I think we have to be very critical about the value that blockchain actually brings. Because first and foremost, you know, I think everybody's on the same page that we want to grow the market. And in order to grow the market, we need to start, you know, we need to move past this sort of early adopter group that we have right now into the mainstream. Mainstream people have certain expectations about product, and they will engage with things that they enjoy engaging with. They won't engage with it just because it has blockchain in it or has some fancy technology in it. So for us, we can't come at it from that perspective. We know how to make great games. We have for years. Let's focus on that, and then weave in the blockchain to do something cool and do something different. And like I said, I think, you know, maybe years down the road, there's a place where we get to where we can put a whole game on the blockchain. But you know, we're so early in the evolution of the technology that I think, you know, it's just not realistic.
And is it not realistic because of transaction speed, or we just really don't know what needs to be, or we just don't know how to use it yet, or we don't have enough use cases?
Well, I mean, it depends what you're talking about, right? If we're talking about Ethereum, you know, then you run into transaction speed and transaction fees. You know, to give you an example, I was playing a game, an Ethereum game the other day. I made a move, and I guess I didn't put enough gas in, and the transaction just hung for a few hours and then eventually failed. And in the meantime, I couldn't play the game. So, you know, I mean, that's an awful experience. And I think we have to evolve past that. You know, and again, we're early days. I'm not sort of criticizing it. It's just more, you know, just trying to be realistic about where we are. We're early stages. The technology will evolve. We'll get better. We'll build tools, and you know, things like that will hopefully be solved. But right now, as it stands, that is a horrible user experience for players. And so, you know, why are we doing it? Why would we do that? Are we doing it because we think it's a good user experience? Obviously not. We're doing it because we think we were trying to use blockchain. And like I said, I think all these sort of small experimental, you know, games and teams are doing incredible things in terms of innovating new ideas and trying to figure out where blockchain fits. I think we can all learn from them. But at the end of the day, you know, I think you have to be careful not to put all of that ahead of the game experience and the product you're trying to deliver to the players. You know, and EOS as well. You know, I was focused on Ethereum there, but EOS, you know, EOS is a step in the right direction. We're real believers in EOS, and you know, they're focused on scalability, transaction speed. You know, our ability, you know, no transaction fees. You know, you stake the CPU, you buy some RAM. These are all things that we can work around quite nicely to deliver a great experience. But again, in the grand scheme of things, we're very early in the evolution of the tech. You know, EOS has gone through some growing pains, as any large infrastructure would go through. And so again, you know, we want to be careful about just jamming something in and delivering a poor user experience just because, well, it's blockchain and we should be doing that. I think that's the wrong way to approach it.
Yeah, so you're looking at the UX and delivering some great game first and then integrating blockchain. What do those integrations look like? Where are you seeing opportunities to integrate blockchain without some sort of friction?
Sure. I mean, you know, again, I think there are a tremendous amount of interesting ways of integrating blockchain, and I think we are going to be discovering more and more ways of leveraging that technology as it evolves. I think right now, you know, I just simply go back to the concept of true ownership of digital assets. I think, again, that's so powerful. You know, I have a World of Warcraft account. I've been playing for 14 years. I put in a tremendous amount of value, personal value, because I've worked so hard and I've played so many hours, hundreds of hours invested in these characters and the items that I have collected. And, you know, it's against the terms of service, so I won't, but I could go to eBay and sell my World of Warcraft account. It'd probably be worth quite a lot because I now have stuff that you can't get anymore. So these concepts have existed, but now blockchain seems to take that and really invigorate it and make it, you know, make it extremely, you know, lower the barrier in terms of doing those kind of concepts. And you can really provide transparent, you know, verifiable scarcity. You know, where there's only 20 of these, you know, we can prove it. It's on the blockchain, for example. There's only one of these, you know, and that is those are really exciting concepts. So right now, you know, at the very least, you know, tokenizing assets that people earn is really interesting to us, and that's certainly where we're going to start. Who knows? You know, who knows what a year from now is going to look like, or even 6 months. I mean, this market is evolving so quickly. But at the very least, sort of that's where we're starting, because that rolls up into our core sort of vision in terms of building player-owned economies, people being able to own the things that they earn or acquire in the game, and to provide this sort of robust marketplace where people can trade items, customize their experience, and build that same what do you call it, perception of value that you put into things like, you know, into things that you work hard on or play or engage with.
Yeah. So can you talk a little bit about, if we're talking about these non-fungible tokens or these items that we own and they're provably unique, the question kind of comes up between item interoperability. People think about these coming from one game to other games. So there's a difference between 2D items and 3D items, let's say. So can you talk about that a little bit?
Yeah, you know, that item interoperability definitely falls into a large list of paradigms that blockchain provides or allows us to explore. For us, I think, and personally speaking, the idea of interoperability is lower in terms of interest. I think, you know, simply creating a standard where you can make an item go from one game to another isn't enough for it to just work. I mean, just to your point, if you have a game and you want to work technically the 2D asset in without the developers of the 3D game doing a lot of work to support it. So I think there's, you know, it's an interesting concept. I think, you know, maybe there's a world down the road where, you know, a game studio might allow it or want to do it within their own ecosystem to help drive players around their game. But it's not a low barrier. You know, it's not something that blockchain just naturally solves. There's still a lot of non-blockchain issues that you would have to deal with for that to be a thing. So it's an interesting one. It's something I'm going to keep an eye on. As there are many ideas coming out of blockchain that I want to keep an eye on and explore, but it's low on the list for us.
Yeah, and that makes sense. I mean, and it's not even necessary to have blockchain for that, really, because games could be technically doing that right now, like different versions of, like old Call of Duty game. Maybe you bring your old guns from Call of Duty to a new one. There's kind of probably a reason, like you said, there's a big barrier to that happening. So blockchain doesn't magically just solve that type of stuff. How about with things like skins?
What do you mean?
I mean, well, with skins, or I mean, the like 2D items, it seems like that's kind of the place where owning these things, not necessarily interoperably, but just a big trading place. That seems like the natural place that people be trading, like cards, pictures, things for their avatars within, outside of the games. So yeah, I saw one of someone from Mythical Games, I think it was a CEO, talk about his vision possibly of eSports and token backed eSports. Have you thought about that at all? And what's that look like?
I think eSports has proven itself to be a fundamental part of the games industry. I think if you're making games on any level, you're certainly looking at eSports and looking at whether it's something that you can leverage. And we've seen it blow up over the last several years into very, very popular medium. And there are several companies betting that esports are really going to be a massive part of our future. Overwatch League is an example, just a massive initiative in that space that's trying to move things forward. So inevitably, if we bring games to blockchain, esports is going to be a part of that. And there's a lot of different really interesting ways that could play out. One of the things that I'm kind of interested in is the idea of memorabilia. In real life sports, we have memorabilia. You can catch that baseball that's been hit 100 times or with a home run from a famous player, and that has value to people. That exists in our culture in the physical world. Now imagine you could own that gun that the winning team of the world championship used to get the killing blow, that you could own that as a player. Again, it does roll back into the whole, at the crux of it all, it's this idea of true ownership over digital assets. But yeah, I mean, esports memorabilia is super interesting to me. You could be like, yeah, I own this gun that, the best player in the world used. And that's gonna have a special place for people. And so
yeah, you made an interesting point about the collectibles from amazing gamers and things like that. That'll be really cool to see how that develops. So something else I'm interested in is the customizable items, so NFTs that people actually take and kind of make their own. How do you see that playing out?
Yeah, I think that's a very interesting concept for sure. I mean, that is, I think currently the climate of the games industry is all about customization. You look at Minecraft and Fortnite and all the recent games that are really big have a massive element of customization and throughout history of games, that has been a really engaging mechanic. And so naturally we want to explore that with blockchain. And again, that's one of the things that I think blockchain really can empower and really can fuel that, because not only can we put out tokenized assets and for you to customize your character or your world or whatever it is, but on top of that, we can, like I said, with verifiable scarcity, we can say, okay, there's only 20 of these. So you could customize your character or world in a way that only 19 other people can, and that's really a special thing. I mean, you can really create something unique and individual and something that represents you. And so I think, yeah, creativity, customization are a massive part of games right now. And so, yeah, blockchain, and NFTs allowing people to be able to do that is, I think, a very strong play.
Yeah, I was thinking of this back. I used to play Skyrim back in the day, and there was this part where you would go and you'd like literally get ore. You'd have to go like hunt down ore out of the mountain, like dig it out of the mountain, then bring it down and put it in a forge and take your minerals out to make like bronze or whatever you're gonna make, and then take that to like a blacksmith and sit there and hammer on it and turn it into a sword. And it would take, if you want to build this like an epic sword, it's going to take you like hours, like 4 hours.
Yeah.
You're going to go mine the materials, the raw materials, and then do it.
Absolutely.
Yeah. And I'm thinking, okay, now if we make, now if people are forging like their own customized swords, maybe putting designs on them that no one else can make, and you're putting in like real craftsmanship, and then you own it uniquely, that's going to be interesting.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I also love the idea of a world where you could be the guy who's really good at mining the ore, and that ore, because it's tokenized, has value to someone else, and you can monetize it. And suddenly, you're making a revenue stream because you're really good at mining ore, and then you're selling it to the blacksmith who's really good at taking it and forging it into a sword, and they'll create something like a sword or a shield that then has value to someone else who's like, you know what, I'm not good at mining or blacksmithing. I just want to play the game, so I'm just going to buy this sword. And so you create these sort of embedded secondary markets that have become really, really interesting, in my opinion. And then, suddenly, there's a world potentially where I can make a living playing the games that I love, and that's so powerful, in my opinion. And then, to your point about customization, I mean, and creating something unique, I mean, that's an area that we're definitely exploring with our first game, the Blankos Block Party. The idea down the road is that we want to be able to open it up to players so that they can take a Blanko and totally create their own and put it into the economy, put it into the game, put it into the marketplace. And, you could be an artist. Another idea that's really interesting to me is you could be, a part-time artist or an aspiring artist with a day job. And, on the side, you create some unique game assets and you put them in a game and tokenize it. And suddenly you have a revenue stream coming in. How cool is that? And so, those are things that get us really excited.
Yeah, that's so cool. I mean, the idea of going into a game that's kind of open world or somewhat open world and finding a niche, something that you like doing, providing value, and then earning an income off it. I mean, it's so all of a sudden that crossover between reality and video game earnings it's like really becomes blurred, which is going to be so fun to see what amazing ideas people come up with.
Absolutely. And I think it's also a very real paradigm. Like when we look at mobile and the impact of that, mobile came in and brought a bunch of paradigms that challenged the way we designed our games, but also challenged the way we monetized it. Concepts like free to play, that didn't exist before mobile in games. Mobile helped create that. We learned a new way of being able to monetize the games we make. Now, I believe, blockchain is going to have a similar impact in that it's going to challenge the way we obviously design games, but how we monetize them. I think we're going to see new ways of generating revenue from games that we've never seen before. And so, in the same way mobile spawned free to play, I imagine a world where blockchain could, spawn something like play to earn, where people, again, play the games they love and make money doing it. And I think that's really fascinating. If you look several years back, no one would have guessed that you could stream yourself playing a game and people would watch and pay you money for it, but here we are with Twitch, right? And it's an actual real job you can have. People are making careers out of being live streamers. And that's amazing. So I think it's very plausible and realistic to think that, a few years down the road with blockchain, we could be providing ways for people around the world to make money playing the games they love. And I think that's also suddenly, games traditionally have always had a hard time breaking the international market. Consoles, for example, the cost was so high. Just some markets out there just could not get into. Mobile did a better job of it. But in a world where you can make a living playing games, suddenly you have a massive global workforce and a massive global addressable market that we've never had before in games. That's really interesting to me.
Yeah, imagine the potential like that unlocks around the globe of just all this brain power, all these people who don't maybe have access to some way to give their value to the rest of the world, but all of a sudden maybe somewhere a group of 20 people or 30 people come together, buy a console, and then they take turns basically gaming on it 24 hours, around the clock. And I mean, it's like people could literally turn a console into a business or turn video gaming into
Absolutely.
It's
and I think what we're going to see, I think it's going to be incredibly accessible. I think it's being much more accessible than the way you describe. I think, yes, sure, it might be, a few people chip in for a console and make a living off it. But I think, if we create economies in games that allow you to make, a good living and generate revenue, you could be, just a kid who loves to play games. Hey, now I'm going to spend my time making money and making an extra income. I mean, that's what's fueling life. Twitch streaming is kids coming out and going, hey, I can make a living doing this, and that's exactly what we're doing.
Yeah, and I like it because also I like the idea of people learning about the real dynamics of money and business and just how things kind of move and interact in a real world way at a younger age. And this is kind of a door for people to experience, like, okay, here's how real economies function, because I never got that in school. I didn't start learning that till I got out of high school and started doing jobs and things, and not even in college did I learn it. I was just learning it through what I was working on. But yeah, that's cool for people to be able to step into that early as kids playing video games will be a learning experience too.
Yeah, absolutely.
With Skylanders, what was really interesting about that project that you worked on in the past was that you stepped outside of video games a little bit, and I think you had basically cards that people could take into stores and turn in like as cash almost, or
no, not quite.
Or how'd that work?
It was a very interesting concept. I mean, basically what we wanted to do is we wanted you to have one-to-one ownership between physical and digital. So we wanted the kids to be able to go to the store, buy cards, come home, and unlock those exact cards in the game that they were playing. Okay. And the way we did that is that you would open up your iPad or iPhone, and you would scan the card. And the card, then we had some design pattern designed into each card that was 100% unique from the next. And so we could scan that card and say, okay, you now own this physical card. It's locked to you, and here's your digital version to play with in the game. And in some ways, it's funny because, I kind of say it's a blockchain game before blockchain. We had true ownership, so we were already, and this is the same team, that worked, that is now part of Mythical. John Linden and I were both part of the studio that created that game. And Jamie Jackson, his team helped make the game. So, it's funny to think how close we were to the blockchain concept way back then. And so again, you could see why we latched onto blockchain so quickly.
Yeah, I mean, that's such an interesting concept. I reference that all the time with my friends talking about marketing and stuff. I'm like, man, what Skylanders did was it's unbelievable. That was like the best play ever. But it's like an analog version of non-fungible tokens. It
was very cool. And if someone else tried to scan that card, it would know that it was already someone else's. And I think that was a really cool concept.
So what'd that look like as far as like Apple and Google and the bigger companies, as far as them wanting to sell in-game items and then you selling them through stores instead?
It's always a challenge when you're working with, first party like Apple, like Google, PlayStation, Xbox. You're always going to run into challenges. Obviously, they're there to generate money, revenue for themselves, and they've all built their own version of a walled garden. And so, and especially in the field that we've worked, where we've made games that are kind of on the bleeding edge, you run into those kind of issues all the time. And, from what I've seen is that, blockchain is now going through the same rigmarole. Apple's trying to figure out, what does blockchain mean? How do I monetize it? Do I let it in? Do I not let it in? How do I deal with it? It's the same thing we've seen year over year as new innovations have come out. And, I think it ends up being a dialogue in terms of, for us, it's always been a dialogue with Apple and Google, talking to them and talking them through the concepts and the requirements and coming to an agreement with what works. I mean, what we landed on, Apple was super pumped on. I mean, they listed us as one of their favorite apps of 2016, so favorite games of 2016. So they were really pumped, and where we landed at the end seemed to work really well with them. But it is always a tricky thing, and we can now, like I said, we can see, you know, blockchain games going through the same process with them as they try to understand it all and define policies around it all.
Yeah, because that's something that a lot of people maybe don't think about on the surface, is that if you talk about like these games coming with currencies on chain, the hurdle is that there's these walled gardens. There's Microsoft and Steam and Google and Apple, et cetera. And they have ways that they're monetizing basically in-game items. And if these blockchain games, if they integrate like some sort of on-chain currency that just goes around that, then why would Apple necessarily want to let you in their store? Or why is Steam going to want to let you on their marketplace? So it'll be each game, I guess, or each integration is going to have to go down that road and kind of figure out the balance there. So
yeah, absolutely. And I think we for us, we have we have an advantage in that we've been down this path many times before. You know, we've built relationships with first parties. We've done it before, and so we're very familiar with the process. And you know, the team is, I've said before, is that, you know, I'm really excited about the team, the expertise that we bring to the table. We're equipped with the experience to sort of tackle these kind of issues.
Yeah. So kind of as we start to wind down here, I want to know a little bit about Blankos, or whatever you can tell us. I know, I mean, it's a cryptic, your video that's out there is cryptic, so I'm not sure if that's on purpose, or if what you can kind of tell us about the game, or
I mean, firstly, I will say that, you know, the trailer, you know, is a perfect example of sort of what Mythical's mission is. You know, we came out of the gate in a really strong position with backing from Blankos Digital and others. You know, our goal is to drive mass adoption of blockchain. We believe in blockchain in a big way. And so our goal is to drive mass adoption of blockchain by building great game experiences that, you know, the mainstream audience wants to play. That's a huge, huge goal of ours. And so we launched, you know, as a first step out of the gates, we launched our trailer in the Gamers' Choice Awards, which was filmed in Los Angeles. And, you know, it's a pretty important piece because, you know, we're the first blockchain or game that uses blockchain to be featured in such a massive mainstream channel. And then within 2 weeks, the reception has been incredible. We got about 136,000 views in 2 short weeks, which makes us the biggest reveal in the blockchain games market by miles. There were several articles written about it and how prolific of a step that was. But it is, you know, again, from my perspective, it is exactly the kind of tone we wanted to set in terms of what we plan to do here with Blankos and with Mythical moving forward. We want to engage the masses. We want to build great games. We want to build games that people love to play, and it doesn't matter what's under the hood. It doesn't matter that blockchain is there. We're creating something cool, we're creating something new, and something that people love to play. And as a result and as a byproduct of that, you know, we intend to drive, like I said, adoption of blockchain through that. Now, Blankos, you know, was an interesting concept. We were looking early on at, you know, the experiments that were going on in blockchain and game. We were looking at this idea of true ownership. There was a lot of interesting experiments around crypto collectibles. So collectability was a big thing that we latched onto and we thought was really interesting. Customization, which you and I have already talked about, we latched onto that concept. We thought, okay, that's a big thing. How do we pull all this together into an idea that we would be proud to make, we would be proud to put out to the audience? And through a variety of discussions and ideas, we actually landed on the vinyl toy market as inspiration. The vinyl toy market has collectability. You know, the physical vinyl toy market has collectability built right into the culture. I mean, it's part of the physical toy industry for years. It's been collectability, scarcity, rarity. People go to Comic-Con or these vinyl toy conferences to find their artists that they love and get that one rare thing that nobody else has. And so the more we looked at that, the more we realized it's a perfect fit for blockchain. Where it's got collectability, it's got customization, because one of the things that vinyl toy industry is known for is they get artists to create their own versions, they're one-off, that suddenly become super valuable. They're pieces of art. And so, customization, collectability, vinyl toys seem to just hit the nail on the head. On top of that, we're a bunch of nerds. We all collect vinyl toys. So, we were just really pumped at the idea of going, okay, well, let's take this vinyl toy world, this physical world, and see what we could do by bringing it to life in this digital world. And that was how Blankos was born. And so, we've released some information about the game. Obviously, the trailer you've seen, the quality we're going for is as high as we've ever done in our careers. We're shooting for that high caliber quality game experience and visuals, which you can see in the trailer. We want to give these vinyl toys a ton of personality, so people could get excited. Okay, what if I'm looking at that vinyl toy on the shelf, what am I imagining it would be like if it came to life all of a sudden, right? And then on top of that, building this world for you to play in. And so, currently what we've released about the game is that you can collect Blankos. There's going to be a lot of different variety of Blankos playing into the whole collectability. Of course, coming along with that will be scarcity, rarity, the things that there'll be some that will be hard to get. And they'll be in this world that we create that, people will be able to play mini games, will be able to interact with each other. And then what we love to do down the road is actually open it up so players could grab the Blanko and a blank Blanko. That's why we call it Blankos, and create their own Blanko. I mean, that to me is a really, really cool concept. Again, going back to what if you were just a part-time artist or a hobby artist, right? And you're like, hey, I could probably do something cool with that character. And suddenly you're making money off of it by putting it in the game and selling it. I think that's just a really powerful concept. So, again, we haven't released too much information. There's tons of information coming, but the idea that we have this big, vibrant world, digital vinyl toys, playing games, mini games. They love to party. We've told you that. They love to party. They love to dance. There'll be a lot of that involved. We poked a little bit fun at the whole battle royale genre because it seems like everyone is doing battle royale, and we're doing something different, more refreshing in my opinion. But customization is going to be a big part of it. Collectability is going to be a big part of it.
Wow. Well, that sounds fun. That sounds like it's a lot more than just just what people possibly are imagining. I don't know what people are imagining. I've heard people call it a dancing game. So I think people will be happy to kind of read the documentation you have out there, but also hear this a little bit about the interactive world, possibly some mini games and all the customization. That's going to be fun. I can't wait. What's the timeline look like? It says coming in 2019. We looking at like December 2019 or like?
Yeah, we can't say. Well, we can say at this point it's 2019. But one thing I will say is that the reception has been so incredibly positive. It's really, really clear to us that we have to deliver, and we have to deliver something exceptional. The bar is really high now. We've broken some records with the trailer. And so, what we're going to do is what we do best is we're going to take our time to do it right, and make sure we deliver something that people are going to be pumped on. We're not about rushing something out the door just for the sake of it. We want to really make sure that when we release this thing, people are going to be excited and really going to hit that expectation.
Yeah, well, I mean, and the impact of it could be so great. And when you start looking at the impact on EOS, is that when you consider the amount of active users there are on EOS on a daily basis right now, and it's mostly kind of this niche, really hardcore community, the branching out into just what you're talking about, this mass market of gamers, and them maybe not even knowing they're using EOS, but possibly, I mean, if the game were to do well, be doubling or more the amount of active users on EOS in general is like it's a big you guys are doing a big thing here for the EOS blockchain as well as the gaming industry and adding blockchain.
Yeah.
So it's so
Yeah.
cool.
And I tell you, we wouldn't be doing it if we didn't 100% believe in it. You know, we're really excited to be part of the EOS community, and we really believe in what we're doing, and we really believe in the game we're building on EOS. And we think, yeah, this is the right strategy for getting to the mainstream users. And, you know, I personally see a world where the blockchain, you know, I see the blockchain community as early adopters that are helping us fuel the market, and move things forward and innovate. And I you know, I definitely see a world where the mainstream market and the blockchain market, you know, can enjoy the same products together and can play in the same economy and have a great time and also benefit from it.
Yeah. And it's like, and people won't need to know the blockchains there, won't need to see it. It's like when credit cards came out and people weren't using them that much. And then all of a sudden you go to the gas station and there is a credit card machine and you just swipe your credit card and all of a sudden that's the only way you get gas now. And none of us understand, or most people don't understand what's going on behind the scenes, all the places your money's bouncing around and what's happening, and no one cares. They just like using their credit card. So,
yeah, that's right.
So that's what you guys are. This is the first little inroad for that type of blockchain usage for games. So that's really
right.
cool.
That's right.
So thanks a bunch for coming on. Where can people find out more information about Blankos, about Mythical Games, or any socials that are the best to find you on?
Yeah, absolutely. So you can find our Mythical website at mythical.games. You can also go to blankos.com to check out a little bit on the game, the trailer. We also currently, as of today, have a giveaway where you can go sign up and get a free Blanko. It'll be yours when you play the game. So that's an important piece. I also say that, you know, I've said this already, but I'm very excited to be part of the EOS community. I'm very excited to be joining you guys in sort of helping push the industry forward. And I'm really grateful at the reception that we've got from the EOS community. Everyone's welcomed us with open arms, and it's really been a treat. And I'm very active on Telegram, and I love connecting with people in the industry. So you can go to our website and get to me through the social media links on there, or you can just come to Telegram. We're on Telegram. Come hit me up. I want to connect with you guys. You know, I'm a big fan of the community, and I'm really thrilled to be part of it.
Well, we're thrilled to have you, Rudy, and Mythical Games. It's going to be really fun year 2019. Thanks for listening to the EOS Podcast, my podcast friends. Also, if you're watching this on YouTube, I like to tell people there's a podcast version also. Get that so you can listen in your car, or because sometimes I just post only audio depending on the version. So all the stuff happens in the podcast. It's not all on YouTube. And then EOS San Francisco Block Producer, we're doing a lot of things to try to push the blockchain forward. So check us out. And that's it. Thanks for coming to my EOS Podcast, friends. Pleasure to have you on the show, Rudy. And until next time, cheers.
Awesome. Thanks, Brandon.
The money is not the prime asset in life. Time is, and your time is just